Are you interested in maximizing your profits and protecting your assets through offshore companies, but don't know where to start? Offshore companies can offer many benefits for entrepreneurs and investors, including tax advantages, privacy, and asset protection. However, setting up and managing an offshore company can be complex and risky if you don't know what you're doing. In this video, we'll provide you with 5 essential tips on how to make the most of offshore companies, even if you're not a millionaire. By the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of how offshore companies work, how to choose the right jurisdiction, and how to set up and manage your offshore company effectively. So let's get started. An offshore company is a business that is registered in a country other than the one where its owners or operations are based. These companies are often set up in jurisdictions that have favorable tax laws, which can help business owners minimize their tax liabilities. While offshore companies can provide many benefits, it's important to note that not all countries have the same tax regulations. Some countries, such as the United States, tax their citizens and residents on their worldwide income, regardless of where the income was earned or where the assets are located. Other countries, such as Singapore and Hong Kong, have territorial tax systems, which means that they only tax income that is earned within their borders. In addition to territorial versus worldwide taxation, different countries have different tax rates, exemptions, and deductions. For example, in the United States, the corporate tax rate is 21%, and businesses can deduct certain expenses, such as salaries and rent, from their taxable income. In contrast, in the United Arab Emirates, there is no federal corporate income tax, although there may be local taxes imposed by individual emirates. It's important to understand the tax regulations in the jurisdiction where you plan to set up your offshore company, as well as the tax regulations in your home country, to ensure that you are in compliance with all applicable laws. Now that we've covered the basics of offshore companies and tax regulations, let's move on to the tips that can help you make the most of your offshore company. The first tip for making the most of offshore companies is to understand their benefits and risks. Offshore companies can offer several advantages for entrepreneurs and investors, including tax advantages, privacy, and asset protection. One of the most significant benefits is the potential to minimize your tax liabilities. Many offshore jurisdictions have favorable tax laws, such as low or no corporate income tax, no capital gains tax, or no inheritance tax. By setting up your company in a tax-efficient jurisdiction, you can legally reduce your tax burden and increase your profits. Privacy is another benefit of offshore companies. In many jurisdictions, the company's ownership information is kept confidential, meaning that your personal information is not publicly disclosed. This can provide an extra layer of protection against identity theft or other forms of financial fraud. Moreover, offshore companies can offer asset protection. By moving your assets offshore, you can protect them from lawsuits, creditors, or other legal claims. Many offshore jurisdictions have strong asset protection laws, which can help shield your assets from seizure or confiscation. Offshore companies come with risks too, which include increased regulatory inspection, involvement in illegal activities, and loss of assets due to fraud or other criminal activities. Setting up an offshore company in a jurisdiction that is associated with high levels of corruption, money laundering, or other financial crimes could unwittingly expose you to criminal activities or even leave you open to legal prosecution. Additionally, if you are not in compliance with all applicable laws and regulations, you could face significant fines, legal penalties, or even imprisonment. Furthermore, while offshore companies can provide asset protection, some jurisdictions may have weaker legal systems or insufficient protections that could leave your assets vulnerable to seizure or confiscation. To mitigate these risks, it's crucial to work with experienced lawyers and accountants who can help you navigate the complex legal and regulatory landscape of offshore companies. It's also essential to stay up to date on changes in regulations and laws that may affect your business and take all necessary measures to ensure compliance with them. The second tip is to choose the right jurisdiction for your company. When it comes to setting up an offshore company, the jurisdiction you choose is critical. Each offshore jurisdiction has its own unique features, such as tax rates, political stability, ease of doing business, and reputation. You'll want to choose a jurisdiction that offers the right balance of these factors for your business or investment needs. For example, if you're looking for a tax-friendly jurisdiction, You might consider the Cayman Islands or the British Virgin Islands. If you're looking for a stable and reputable jurisdiction, you might consider Switzerland or Singapore. When choosing a jurisdiction for your offshore company, it's crucial to consider the potential risks and benefits associated with each jurisdiction carefully. This includes considering factors such as political stability, reputation, and ease of doing business. You should also consult with experienced lawyers and accountants who can provide you with guidance on the legal and regulatory requirements of each jurisdiction. However, keep in mind that each jurisdiction has its own legal and regulatory requirements, so be sure to do your research and seek professional advice. Tip number 3. Set up your offshore company correctly. Setting up an offshore company can be complex and time-consuming, but it's essential to do it right. You'll need to navigate the legal and regulatory requirements of your chosen jurisdiction, such as registering your company, obtaining a business license, and opening a bank account. To open an offshore bank account, you will typically need to provide identification documents and proof of address. Some banks may also require you to have a certain minimum deposit or maintain a minimum balance. Additionally, some banks may be hesitant to open accounts for individuals or companies from certain countries due to regulatory restrictions or concerns about money laundering and terrorism financing. Look for banks with a solid reputation, a proven track record of financial stability, and good customer service. Also, consider the bank's fees and charges, as these can vary widely depending on the bank and the type of account you open. You'll also need to consider factors such as the structure of your company, the roles and responsibilities of your directors and shareholders, and the tax implications of your business activities. It's important to work with professionals who are experienced in setting up offshore companies, such as lawyers, accountants, and corporate service providers. Fourth tip: manage your offshore company effectively. Once your offshore company is set up, it's important to manage it effectively. This means ensuring compliance with local regulations, maintaining accurate records, and managing your finances wisely. You'll need to stay up to date on changes in tax laws, reporting requirements, and other regulations that may affect your business. You'll also need to hire the right professionals to help you manage your company, such as accountants, auditors, and legal advisors. Good communication and transparency with your directors and shareholders is also crucial for effective management. And lastly, tip number 5. Use offshore companies strategically. If you get until here, you're probably serious about opening an offshore company, so it's very important to make it strategically to maximize their benefits. Offshore companies can be used for a variety of purposes beyond just making money, such as tax savings, asset protection, privacy, and international trades. For example, you might use an offshore company to hold your intellectual property or to invest in international real estate. You might also use an offshore company to diversify your investment portfolio and reduce your overall risk exposure. Once you have it stabilized, it can provide protection against creditors, lawsuits, legal issues in your home country, and also provide privacy, as offshore companies are not required to disclose their ownership publicly in many jurisdictions. However, it's always important to remember that offshore companies can also have reputational risks and legal compliance issues, so it's important to use them wisely and with the advice of professionals. To end on a final note, offshore companies can offer many benefits for entrepreneurs and investors who are looking to maximize their profits and protect their assets. However, setting up and managing an offshore company can be complex and risky if you don't know what you're doing. By understanding the benefits of offshore companies, choosing the right jurisdiction, setting up your company correctly, managing it effectively, and using it strategically, you can make the most of the opportunities that offshore companies offer. It's important to seek the advice of professionals who are experienced in offshore company setup and management, and to stay up to date on changes and regulations and laws that may affect your business. We hope you found these tips helpful, and we wish you success in your offshore ventures. If so, please give us a like and consider to subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you for watching.